Okay, so it is tomorrow. It is a new day, day 2. We had a bit of a fail yesterday. My camera ran out of storage space.
And my camera ran out of battery, so...
Yeah, so we actually did finish putting it all together yesterday, pretty much.
But we haven't booted it.
No, that's all still to come.
So I'm just going to put the last of the side panels back on. So we connected all the fans. There's two fans here and there's one at the back. So I'm going to guess it's going to be a little bit loud. Also, what we've done is we've got the Microsoft Natural keyboard that I bought from eBay, brand new out of box, to match our lovely beigeness.
Ooh, very nice. I've never really got on with those keyboards, but that one is a lovely example.
I've used them for years, so I'm quite used to it. And I just plugged this mouse in temporarily because I also bought new on eBay a Logitech Pilot Mouse with mouse port, aka PSG. So we'll open that a bit later. It's also got 3 mouse buttons on, and there's a reason for that, which we'll go to it later.
And the screen is a 99p eBay special?
Another eBay special, 99p.
How far did you have to go to get it?
Not very far. So we're in just north of Birmingham at the moment, and I had to drive to Sutton Coldfield, which probably was about 10-15 miles.
There be dragons in some Coldfield. Yeah, it's not beige. It doesn't match the rest of the aesthetic, but it's actually quite hard to find a beige LCD. And CRTs are just too big and heavy,
and they're too expensive. You're looking at anything up to sort of £80, £90, £100 for a CRT, and we don't have the space in the house for storing one, to be honest. And it's lugging it around. They're heavy. It's not light, but it's much lighter than a CRT, and it takes up vastly less room. So stick it in the cupboard, forget about it.
Right. So what have we got inside the case?
There is a Pentium II 266 processor. There's 128 megabytes of PC66 memory. There's an 8GB IDE hard drive that was taken from an original Xbox. There's a Sound Blaster live audio card, a 3Com 3C905V PCI network card. There's an ATI Rage Pro Turbo something, which is 8 megabytes, and we have a floppy drive, which may or may not work at the moment because I dropped it. And we have a Ricoh DVD CD. It's a DVD reader CD writer, and there's another reason why I bought this particular one as well, but we'll go to that in a little bit.
And we've got some sort of generic speakers with just for sound.
Yeah, just 2.1 audio system I had lying around, so at least we can get some audio out of it.
And hidden under the table, we've got a great big mess of cables and cables.
Yeah, so we won't talk about that.
Okay, let's move on to the next bit. We're going to move the PC out of the way, aren't we? Because it's difficult to film.
Yeah, so we're just going to stick this on the floor, but what we're going to do is we're going to be doing an install of a very unknown operating system called the BeOS.
Ooh.
So the reason why I wanted to do this build was about 20 years ago now, BeOS 4.5 was released, which is what this revision is here, and I pestered my dad to buy it for Christmas, so this is my original Christmas present. Sadly, I don't have the box anymore, but you don't see many videos about the BeOS, and it's very difficult to buy hardware that works for it, or it used to be difficult at the time.
Because it is quite niche.
It is.
You know, for those who don't really know the history of the BeOS, which I don't, to be honest, a great deal, but Jean-Louis Gasset, who was, he worked at Apple in the Macintosh division.
He ran Apple France.
Oh, right. And then he left Apple, or was
Well, he moved to California first of all, and then he took over the Apple division there. So he was responsible for the Mac Portable, and I think it was the Mac 2CX or 2CI, something like that. And he actually built them on stage. So I follow him on Twitter, and I just sent him a message when I was thinking about doing this project, and said, hey, I'm doing this little build. I wondered if you could spare some time to talk about the incorporated, the BeOS. And he said yes. So I actually had a really wonderful conversation about a month ago now.
It was supposed to be 5 minutes and it went on for nigh on an hour, didn't it?
Yeah, so originally I just expected to talk to him for like, 5-10 minutes. I didn't want to take up too much of his time. But he actually talked with me for about an hour, and I asked some questions pertaining to the lack of hardware support, the platform that they decided to go with originally. So they had the Hobbit processor, which was from AT&T. They then moved over to PowerPC, and finally they went to Intel. So this revision of the BeOS is the last one that actually officially runs on PowerPC as well as Intel. And he was a lovely chap, and had a really good conversation with him. And I'll play some clippets of the interview that we did, so you can hear his thoughts. Yeah, really, really nice chat actually.
No, I've listened to the interview, and it's really stonking. It's just he goes into so much detail about different things, and he's really honest. It's a cracking listen. So when you cut up some bits and put them in, it's definitely worth giving it a listen.
Yeah, I was very nervous to start off with, because he was kind of like an idol of mine. He started up this company that did amazing things, and I never once believed that I would actually be having a conversation with him, let alone telling him about my childhood and my computing history. Excuse me. And yeah, it was kind of surreal. I got off the phone, well, I had a FaceTime conversation, and I was absolutely just jumping for joy. I was so excited.
You messaged me straight away, didn't you? Lots of exciting, incomprehensible messages, pretty much.
Yeah, basically I couldn't talk because I was so excited. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to do a first boot and hopefully it will work, and then we'll do an install of BeOS 4.5, and we'll have a quick play with the OS, and then basically the network card, the audio card and the graphics card, it should all be natively supported, so you don't have to worry about any drivers. The CD, DVD reader, CD burner, is one of the, I think there's about 8 that are officially supported by the CD burner software in BeOS. That's the reason why I chose that one. So yeah, we'll get started.
Yeah, let's crack on.
So we'll move the PC on the floor, and then we'll try and focus on as much on the screen. We haven't got a capture card at the moment.
That was my fault, I've lost it in my storage somewhere.
So what we'll have to do is we'll just have cameras over our shoulders focusing on the screen, so hopefully we'll be able to see what we can see. And we'll perhaps do a time lapse of the install, because we're not going to make you sit there and watch the 20-minute install of copying files over.
Do you know, I bet there are some people who would enjoy watching.
I'm sure there are, but that's not me.
Okay, so here we go. We're going to start installing the BeOS.
Version 4.5.
Is it the BeOS?
It is the BeOS, yes. Or the B operating system.
Farting speakers.
These used to be the speakers that we had in the living room for the TV.
Phoenix BIOS. Ooh. And I don't know when PCs stopped going beep when they got through their BIOS check.
I'm really annoyed that the new Macs don't do the Mac chime.
Do they not?
No.
It's crap. I mean, I know it can be annoying sometimes, but it's sort of it's like a distinctive part of the Mac.
So you open the Macs now and they just turn on, and they don't go whoa.
Boring.
Yeah. There was a hack that you could do, which I tried to re-enable it, but.
Although, that said, when I was working on my classic Mac and my that iMac that I found at the skip, I was doing some stuff on those at work that involved rebooting a lot, and that noise got really annoying really quick.
Put some headphones in.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't. Practical. technical solutions.
So we're booting off the CD. This shows activity, and then these actually do mean things, but I don't remember at the moment what they are.
Atoms.
Well,
It's nuclear powered.
That's the kernel.
Right.
And then
Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
Can't say anything funny about those.
the BeOS does boot very quickly.
So what have we got here? We've got a boot floppy, which we haven't been able to use yet, because we don't know whether the floppy drive works. And we've got the BeOS operating system installation guide, release 4.5.
Now, I've done this quite a number of times, so I'm a bit of a pro at it. So, are we going to read the license agreement?
Yes, we have to.
There we go, all done.
Right, red.
So what we need to do is define a partition. At the moment it's just got one FAT16 partition on. So we're going to go and do setup partitions. And we're going to format it with the BFS.
That was one of the fairly sort of groundbreaking things about the BeOS, wasn't it? The file system.
Yes.
Because I don't know if people who are watching know this, but up until relatively recently, and unless you were using sort of Unix-derived operating systems, file systems kind of sucked.
Yeah.
You know, they all just sucked. You know, now we have exFAT for memory sticks, which does, you know, doesn't have the 4 gig limit and stuff like that. You know, people were stuck with so many limitations just from the file system for such a long time.
Well, this is the first operating system with a 64-bit file system, and it's kind of database driven. So the cool thing about it is if you do a find and you leave the find window open and then save a document with that matches the criteria, it will pop up in the find window automatically. You don't have to do a search again. And also, when I was having my chat with Jean-Louis Gasset, he told me that the engineer who worked on the file system for the BeOS is working at Apple now. So he wrote, from what I understand, APFS, which is what all the new Macs and iPads and iPhones use.
So even though the original goal for the BeOS, whether it was overtly stated or not, was they wanted Apple to use it as the core of the next version of the macOS before macOS 10 came out. And the latter versions of macOS 8 and 9 were very clunky, and they were really suffering from how primitive they were.
Yeah, so one of the things that Jean-Louis Gasset said was that the OS wasn't a proper OS in the traditional sense, where any application could take over the whole of the system.
Yeah.
There was no security behind anything, so anything could do anything and break the system, basically. So the BeOS, two reasons. They did look at alternatives, but then they decided to write their own kernel, and it was mainly focused on multimedia. So at the time, BeOS could run rings around Windows or Macs, or even the same machine running the BeOS. It was a lot quicker. You could have 6 or 7 videos playing simultaneously on the same hardware, whereas a Windows or a Mac would struggle with one, or, well, 2 or 3. So here at the installer we have Japanese. I'm not going to install Japanese because I don't read Japanese. And the default OS language is English US. I'm going to install the extras and the third party. The extras are things like demos, and the third party is like productivity suite. There's a thing called Gobi, which is word processor, spreadsheet, presentation kind of thing. And the whole OS takes 242.1 megabytes.
Ooh, they wouldn't have fit on my LC3 then.
No. Right, whilst it's installing, do you want to do the honours and open it?
Ooh, do I get to open it?
You do.
Oh, exciting. Except I really suck at this kind of thing.
Just rip it open. With your feeble little weak.
Well, I trimmed my nails before I got here. Sorry.
I don't think I've seen an unboxing before where somebody uses their teeth.
Yeah, well, they normally have tools, and I didn't. Aha! I made a hole. My wife likes to wrap up my birthday and Christmas presents like impenetrably with sellotape on all angles, just so she can watch me struggling to open them.
See, I love to wrap, and I love using as little tape as possible. Wrapping with maths is quite fun as well. Have you ever tried to wrap a Toblerone?
A Toblerone? No.
You can wrap a Toblerone using maths.
This is a special moment.
This was new in box from eBay. Benefited to charity, so I feel all charitable.
Which charity?
I don't know, but a charity.
So we've got, look, enter cyberspace.
Oh wow.
Look
How
at
retro
that.
is that?
Love that. The natural interface to cyberspace. You can open that.
Oh, it's got.
There's something in there.
There's something in it.
I'm guessing a floppy, a driver floppy.
Right, well you can continue on doing that and I shall rip this to shreds.
Put this out of the way.
Please let there be a floppy. Then I will own two.
And then you can just like flagrantly format over it.
No. So,
It's very little in the way of packaging, I have to say, which is quite nice. There's no nasty, that horrible welded together plastic.
it's frustration-free packaging.
And this thing here, the official name for these, if you didn't know, is an assist de display.
An assistant to the display.
No, it helps you display things.
Ah.
Assist de display.
Right, okay. Pour se faire son français, composer les deux. So, the Pro Mouse PS2, is that what this one is?
Well, it is. It certainly is a PS2.
What does it say on the box?
Let's just have a look at the bottom. Logitech. Nothing written on the bottom of the mouse. On the box, it says Pilot Mouse.
Pilot Mouse, PS2. I just want to make sure that we meet this minimum system requirements.
Yes.
Do we have a 286 CPU?
No.
No.
We have a 286 compatible CPU. I
Ah,
think.
there we go then. Do we have DOS, Windows 3.1 or Windows 95?
No.
Ah. We may have some problems then. Do we have 640k of RAM?
No.
Oh.
I mean, I suppose we have at least 640k of RAM.
Yes, that's true. Do we have a CD-ROM? But not that it matters.
Yes.
Oh,
We
yeah,
have one of
we
those.
have a CD-ROM.
They didn't supply a CD with it, but we have one.
And do we have PS2 ports?
I think so. I hope so.
Parallel?
Maybe.
Not required. Serial?
Maybe.
Not required.
Good. No one likes serial and parallel.
Ooh, look at this. You hold that to the camera while you go through that. And I shall. Look at this splendidness! I now have 3 floppy disks.
Glorious. Why does a mouse need 3 floppies?
I don't know, I'm guessing. Oh, it's got mouseware
Ooh,
and a multilingual version of mouseware.
I've forgotten about mouseware. Yes, look at this. So we've got the natural interface to cyberspace again, or do natural interface for cyberspace. Is that Dutch?
That's Dutch. The natural interface for cyberspace.
Ooh. And then we've got all of these other things that you could buy, the page scan.
Do you remember those?
I do, I loved those. Even though they were a nightmare to use,
They're terrible.
they felt like the future. You just kind of swipe them over something and it appears on screen. Play Snappy. What is that?
It's. I have no idea. Something about videos for the PC. Oh, is it a capture card?
Maybe,
Do we have other languages?
or some kind of.
Oh my god, I remember those. There's the Pilot Mouse, the
Yay.
world's first. No, the world's most popular mouse.
Look at the Surfman. Look how futuristic that was.
I remember those.
You could get that with a current day LCD TV, and you wouldn't think it at all weird.
No, indeed.
What if there was a cordless one, Mouseman cordless? Would that be RF or?
I assume it would be RF.
I really hope it wasn't infrared. No, I'm not to do with that.
Do you think we should register the product?
Yes, you should always register your products.
Hey, there's a phone number for London. Should we ring it?
Yes.
Oh, we can't. It's an 0181 number.
0181 811 8181.
Right.
Would you like to install the B Boot Manager?
We would.
Otherwise, we won't be able to boot.
Indeed.
Okay.
So, there is something that's slightly frustrating I've always found with the boot manager is you can't specify a time other than 5 seconds as the minimum. So you can't specify 0 for it to just automatically boot the BeOS. You will always see the boot manager. Unless there is some way of doing it that I don't know about. So it's updated the
Oh, it's backed up the old one.
yeah, so we
Would you like to create a new rescue dish? A rescue dish.
so this is the partition that it's gonna boot by default.
Right.
It's 7.5 gigs, it's the whole of the drive, and I labelled it beige because it's BeOS and it's beige. So wait indefinitely, wait 5 seconds, 10 or 15, but there's no wait nothing.
Yeah.
So 5 seconds it will have to be. And then, are you sure? Yes. There we go. So the boot, or master boot record has been written. We're ready to reboot.